What I love about being an actor is I get to inhabit and experience all the different parts of myself and honor all the different parts of myself, the foolish, playful, silly parts, as well as the high-minded, kind of spiritually, longing parts, and the lover, the warrior, the thief. It's just such a great profession, such a lucky profession. The Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker.
Just let me go.
Is that a knife? Is that a real knife?
Yes, it's a real knife.
My weakness, it's small knives.
Just let me go.
Anything but knives!
Oh, it's so simple.
That was cool, man.
What the hell is this?
Webbing that I developed myself. I don't think you really want to know.
Come on, let me go!
It was daunting because I know what it means to me. I know what that character means to me, and therefore I can imagine what it means to every other person that it means something to. But I loved the responsibility, actually. I was so up for it. I was so grateful for it. And I was very healthily afraid, but it was that kind of fear that fills you with energy. Like I wasn't really sleeping at night because I know what it required of me. I know I needed to be completely turned on and tuned in to making it the best possible version I could make it. And being infused with that kind of muse and energy and spirit, it's a wonderful experience. It is exhausting, but you get taken over. What an amazing gift to be able to be given, to be the custodian, the temporary, I should add, custodian, it shouldn't only ever be that, of this, beloved character that is such a symbol for so many people and a reminder for so many people of what they're capable of, what we are capable of.
Put it on, the mask. It's gonna make you strong. Jack, trust me. Put it on. There you go. That's it. That's it, buddy. That's it. Okay, now climb. Come on, Jack. Do me a favor, a little faster, okay, bud?
When I was first cast and I started engaging with the creative team and Mark, the director, I think it was to do with that feeling of responsibility. I think storytellers are the shamans of the culture and always have been. Diving into mythology and diving into like stealing from our oldest stories and making sure that we are providing the good medicine, particularly to young people in a film that a lot of young people obviously are going to see, even if it's like a subliminal medicine, the medicine that's hidden in, candy bar. You want it to feel like you're actually doing something that has effect, that can create some ripples in a young person's life, that can kind of wake them up to their own extraordinariness and their own ordinariness as both being honorable.
Okay.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Peter Parker.
That's not possible.
I am Spider-Man in my world.
There was a big gap between me doing Spider-Man, my Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then the No Way Home with the gang. And in that time, I've stayed reasonably fit, and I like being physical and staying in shape. I had done a lot of my stunts on the first two films, and then it came to the one with the more aged Spider-Man, and I was so excited to be back doing stunts again. And the first stunt I did, I threw my back out entirely on the first take, and I didn't do it right, so I kept on doing it. I did it like 3 or 4, and I had thrown my back out into like 6 or 7 months to recover. It's time to stretch. It's time to start stretching before you do things. There's a moment where I cracked Toby's back in the film.
Yeah, that's good.
All of that was coming out of us chatting, all of us with John Watts, and going, well, what would it be? What is the dynamic here? And what are the things that we can nod to? And, it's like, well, what's the reality of now being these older guys wearing spandex? And how do we acknowledge that in a way that feels real and funny?
So you make your own web fluid in your body?
I'd rather not talk about this.
No, I don't mean to.
Are you teasing me?
No. He's not teasing you. It's just that we can't do that. So naturally, we're curious as to how your web situation works.
I look back very, very fondly, but there was some healing that happened between the three of us doing that together. And it suddenly felt lighter, I think, to all of us in a way, for the characters, but also for us as actors. It's like, oh yeah, we would share about what our struggles were. It was like, Spider-Man, group therapy. That's like such a weird thing, but it was so much fun, so lovely. Chatting about, just telling stories and sharing experiences, and it was surreal, kind of heavenly. The Social Network, Eduardo Saverin.
Are you all right? I need you. I'm here for you. No, I need the algorithm used to rank chess players.
Are you okay?
We're ranking girls.
You mean other students?
Yeah.
You think this is such a good idea?
Oh my God, it was such a specific in-between time for Facebook, I think. I believe I had come off of it already before having read the script. It just wasn't somewhere I wanted to be. And it felt, I think at that time it did feel like the reputation of Zuckerberg was slightly being called into question, and his intentions and his, you know, whether he had the maturity, the access to his own heart and humanity to preside over such a huge responsibility, you know, making this, you know, new town square. I had an unease. Around it, like I think everyone did, and everyone still does. Aaron Sorkin captured the terror of what this person had created, the kind of the potential toxicity of it. It's this interesting thing where it's like, takes the person that makes the thing, and kind of, you can then identify the personal wounds and the personal fallibility of the person and how it's been passed into the very system and the very platform or the very product or the organization that has been created. It's like the fish rotting from the head down. I feel like what Aaron captures so beautifully is, oh, this man's personal problems have become all of our collective personal problems. You know, a man that has seemingly, through the lens of this film, struggles to connect on a human level with other humans, has now made it impossible for us all to connect on a human level with other humans. I don't know whether he is able to connect with him. I think Eduardo is open and wanting to have a brotherhood with Mark in this version of the story, obviously. It takes two to tango. He's not able to do it for whatever reason.
Mr. Sav. Mark! Mark!
He's wired in.
Sorry?
He's wired in.
Is he?
Yes.
How about now? You still wired in?
I didn't realize it was going to be so heartbreaking. You know, because on the page you could think, oh, well, this is just a guy that's been fucked out of a bunch of money. But I think what makes it meaningful and impactful is that it's a one-sided love brotherhood relationship. It's a guy that's holding space for his friend to show up in the way that he believes he can. He was just deluded all along, it turns out. And I think the majority of human beings have been in that situation where they believe in someone's capacity and, oh, I see beauty in you. I know that you're in there and other people just can't see it, but I'm gonna hang in there and tease it out of you. And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, I've wasted so much energy and time because this person was always going to be exactly as that's on me. Like, there's no betrayal, really. Like, the signs were there. And I don't think Jesse plays him as a sociopath. I think Jesse plays him as someone actually full of longing, someone full of insecurity, someone full of fallibility and ego, like a young, egotistical guy who is driven by things that are self-serving, ultimately. And I think what I love about Aaron and his writing is that he wanted to make a film in the vein of Kurosawa's Rashomon, which is one event from 4 different perspectives, and every single one of them is true. So I think the Winklevoss twins have a true narrative. Eduardo has a true narrative. Mark has a true narrative. His first girlfriend has a true narrative. Everyone's narrative is real and true. And that's the kind of the terrible thing about being a human being, is that who's more right than the other? And there's no such thing as more right than the other, unless you're talking about objective, factual things. Hacksaw Ridge, Desmond Doss.
Are you grinning at me, boy, or is that your natural state?
No, Sergeant.
Name, Private.
Desmond Doss.
I have seen stalks of corn with better physiques. Makes me want to pull an ear off, Private. Can you carry your weight?
Yes, Sergeant.
Should be easy for you then. Corporal.
Sergeant.
Make sure you keep this man away from strong winds.
Yes, Sergeant.
Desmond Doss was a simple man, really devoted religious man. He was a pacifist, and he was also full of vigor and passion to serve during World War II. But as a pacifist, he wasn't a wimp, but he was someone that just didn't believe that physical violence was the answer ever. And he managed to save, I believe it was 70 to 71, 72 of his American fellow servicemen. And he saved a bunch of Japanese soldiers as well. He dragged them all to the edge of this ridge and fashioned a kind of harness and rope and lowered them down. And he did superhuman feats in the name of love for his fellow man. He gives all the glory to his God. But I tell you, there were physically impossible feats that he was doing, because I tried to do them on the day. I couldn't do it twice. But the necessity is like what happens when the strength that enters the body of a mother who has to lift a car suddenly off of their dying child. It's that kind of inspiration that this guy had, and this faith, this unwavering faith that he had, that meant, I don't know, in some way it felt like he was being guided and touched by some unseen force. My brother is a doctor, so it felt like I was honoring both of them in my mother in her gentle care for everyone that she came across, and my brother in his devotion to healing people and to keeping people alive. The never enoughness of that profession, like it's what one has to do in order to survive that and to keep going, and not to fall into despair if something goes wrong or a mistake is made or you feel like you could have done more.
Where the hell you going, Doss?
Still more wounded out there, Sarge.
I'll go with him.
Be smart. Keep your ears down. All right, let's find a spot.
There was a bunch of really brilliant Australian actors that I got to work with and bond with in the course of that job. We were shooting in Sydney and around Australia, and Aussies are the best, Aussie actors are the best, Aussie crew is the best. It was just I'd never been to Australia, so I was having a really great time. And these guys were just great. It's what happens. You actually get to create a little tribe, little battalion with a bunch of guys you hadn't known previously on a job like that. We just loved hanging out. We loved being with each other and ribbing each other and taking the piss out of each other and fucking about. So when it came to those battle sequences, you know, the brothers in arms stuff, it was kind of joyous. But one of the jokes we would have, you know, it was exhausting, but like one of us at a certain point would have to break the bubble and be like, yeah, I know fake war is so hard. Because it was just, you know, we were just pretending to be at war. Who would wimp out first on an actual battlefield? And it was like actors on an actual battlefield is like, you know, we would all be like, no, you go ahead. It's very, very Tropic Thunder, yeah, one of my favorite movies. And Mel, our director, is someone it's a real meritocracy. There's no hierarchy in a way. He's one of the guys and he's kind of in there with us and didn't feel like we had a boss in a way. It felt like we were all just making this thing together. And it was a really, really special feeling. Tick, tick, boom, Jonathan Larson.
And in 8 days, my youth will be over forever. And what exactly do I have to show for myself? Happy birthday. Stop the clock.
Jonathan Larson was a musical theatre legend, still is a musical theatre legend, and he achieved that at such a young age. He is the creator of Rent. He changed musical theatre forever with Rent, and he tragically died the night before the first preview off Broadway of Rent. And he made a one-man show called Tick, Tick, Boom just before he wrote Rent. And our film is a version of that one-man show kind of expanded into a little memoir, autobiography, vignettes, tone poem, all that jazz style kind of in Jonathan Larson's head. I'm far enough away from it now to be able to objectively say how lucky that I was to be able to, well, given the opportunity to play him and inhabit him. Lin is a creative powerhouse. He is a visionary. He is uncensored, unbridled, and inspiring to be around. And it didn't feel like his first film. He had the confidence to collaborate in a way that only the great filmmakers have. He wasn't controlling, he was liberating and inspiring. He wanted everyone to bring their talent to the thing. And I didn't know how to sing, and he entrusted me, and he educated me on musical theatre. He provided me with a great education on this art form that I'd admired from afar, but never fully engaged with. He owes his career, his inspiration in a lot of ways to Jonathan Larson. So his desire to honor John was pure, that he's aware of all of the interconnectedness of all the things. He follows his own golden thread. He just kind of instinctively knows where he has to be and what he has to be working on. And you can feel it through the film. You can feel it through all of his work. But like, particularly I'm thinking about a moment in the film where Jonathan Larson's, you know, ultimate hero mentor, Stephen Sondheim, leaves a voice message for John on his answering machine, giving a proper mentorship moment.
John, Steve Sondheim here. Rosa gave me this number. I hope it's okay to call you. I didn't get a chance to speak with you after the reading, but I just wanted to say it was really good. Congratulations. I'd love to get together and talk to you about it if you have any interest. No pressure. The main thing, though, is that it's first-rate work and has a future. And so do you. I'll call you later with some thoughts if that's okay. Meanwhile, be proud.
In that moment in the film, it feels like the lineage of musical theater is just in one very pure, direct line from Sondheim to John to Lynn. It was like being caught in like one of those, like a Ghostbusters, like, you know, stream. It felt just like you're in the center of the musical universe. Lynn can create moments of magic like that through instinct. Things that feel like touching the third rail, something profound and magical happening, another energy coming in, yeah. Silence, Sebastião Rodriguez.
I saw men die.
I did too.
For Deus, on fire with their faith.
Your martyrs may have been on fire, Father, but it was not with the Christian faith.
I saw them die. I saw them die. They did not die for nothing.
When Scorsese asks you to participate, you kind of clear the books and you kind of cancel all other plans. And I did. I took a year to study with a great Jesuit priest, Father James Martin, and travel to silent retreats and to Portugal and just study and create a connection with the Jesuit faith. And it was an ascetic time because I lost 30 pounds and I'd never gone that far before. But when it's Mardi, you're like, well, I better pull out all the stops and give all of myself to this. I didn't know if I had any perception. I was obviously I was bowing deeply as I entered, you know, the magnitude of him as an iconic artist and filmmaker. And then I guess I was surprised just by how avuncular and kind and fun and sweet and easygoing he was, and how he had no interest in being treated as any kind of icon. He just wanted to have a good time and have a laugh. He was very, very funny. We would have these amazing conversations. I would go to his place in New York and just sit by the fireplace with him, and we would have dinner with his family, and then we would sit for a couple of hours. It was like once every couple of weeks, and we would talk about the book. We would talk about the Shusaku Endo book, Silence, and we would talk about faith, and we would talk about ego, and we would talk about the mystery of faith. We knew the conversations that I would be going home, because whenever it was usually about 2 hours in, and there would be a pause that was longer than like 10 seconds. We were both staring at the fire. And then he would be like, all right, kid. And then that was it. And that was that night done. 99 Homes, Dennis Nash.
No, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Carver, and we've been getting our eviction notices. I was in court yesterday.
Yeah.
And the judge informed me that I got 30 days to file for an appeal.
It was after I did the second Spider-Man film. So there's some pattern here where I just physically go, I need to fucking put my hands back on the earth. And Ramin Barani, who I'd seen, I loved Chop Shop and Man Push Cart, these two other films that he'd made previously. I thought they were really in the vein of Ken Loach, kind of very humanist, spiritual filmmaking for the working class, which is my ancestry and like on both sides. And it's the kind of storytelling that, like, Ken Loach is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. It loosely feels like a modern version of The Grapes of Wrath, of man's inhumanity to man, or The Bicycle Thieves, you know, the setup of this kind of predatory late-stage capitalism that we're current crisis.
I can get Vesic Investment Group away from him, and my team can handle as many homes as you have to sell.
Well, I have upwards of 1,000 homes, possibly more.
And how it forces us to dehumanize each other in order to survive, which is just a made-up fucking container. You know, that's the crazy part, is that the current culture we're in has been decided, created, and made up by a bunch of people that it serves.
What do you have in there?
steak.
What? That's hamburger helper if I ever heard of anything.
What does that look like to you?
That looks like dinner for Dana.
Dana, you come on and join us.
You put that under your t-shirt?
It felt like my family's story in a way, in a period of time where my family were in terrible financial trouble, which is, I think, the story of most American people at a certain point. And I loved working with non-actors. I loved working with actors who had been foreclosed on, who had had their homes taken. Felt like a privilege to be able to meet these people, research with these people, do our best to try and reflect their experiences, combined with our own personal experiences. It just felt like a real privilege. Yeah, I think it's a survival thing, you know, for the character Dennis. It's eat or be eaten. If you have to, you know, take a bulldozer to your neighbor's house in order to feed your own family, you know, I don't know a man or a woman that wouldn't do the same if it was survival. It doesn't call into question our humanity, actually. It calls into question the lack of humanity in these systems that have been created and in the systems that we all have to function in to survive. Under the Silver Lake, Sam.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You ever see her around?
Sarah.
Yeah, you know what happened to her?
Inspired by After Hours in a way, Under the Silver Lake. That was one of the films on David Robert Mitchell's film watch list for me to prep. He was like, you need to see it After Hours. I'm like, of course, I'll see it again. But like, it's very, like, it feels that what is real, what is not real. I was in Australia, I just finished Hacksaw Ridge, and I was tired of playing religious, spiritually, like, men trying to transcend. And then I took a 2-week break and I drove up the coast to Byron Bay, just a solo surf trip. My agents had sent me, they said, hey, have you seen It Follows? And I was like, I have no desire to see It Follows because I'm a scaredy cat and I don't like scary films. And I hear it's like reinventing the horror genre. And they were like, well, we think you're gonna like it. And I loved it. It was inventive and terrifying and thematically fascinating and tonally fascinating and just a proper filmmaker.
Why do we just assume that all of this infrastructure and entertainment and open information that is beaming all over the place, all the time, into every single home on the planet is exactly what we're told it is?
Down a rabbit hole of no meaning, maybe, or a question mark, I don't know. And I loved it. It just felt like the Goonies to me. It felt like a guy that's too old to still wanting to be a Goonie, still trying to chase some mysterious treasure with a map found in a Wheaties box or whatever. It read like unlike anything else I'd ever read, and it was 160 pages and had ciphers in the script and had images and like marketing stuff within. I was like, I just love this guy and I just want to play with him. It just felt like, again, just this kind of pendulum swing to something very, very different. Death of a Salesman, Biff Loman. Mike Nichols had asked me after seeing The Social Network to play Biff in Death of a Salesman with Phil Hoffman and Linda Emond. I suppose it could be seen as a bit of a left field choice. It felt grounding. I don't know how to explain it apart from it felt really grounding. I think particularly because I knew I was about to go off on a big international press tour and that my life was about to change. It felt like an instinctive thing. I was like, I need to just ground. The essence, the essential purpose that brought me into this work in the first place, which is theatre. It's about the play. The play is the thing. It's not about the actors. It's much more satisfying getting into a deep conversation about Death of a Salesman or about Angels in America. That's just what turns me on more. Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors, Phil, and always will be. He was this rigorous pursuer of truth. There was no bells and whistles. It was, what's the truest thing here? And it's so weird because his performances are so full of bells and whistles. They all emanate from a place of truth. He's an actor that can create things that are as real as reality in the way that they are stranger than fiction. He had one of those hearts And one of those souls that when it was revealed to us as an audience, when it was revealed to us as actors playing with him, it was just the purest spirit, full of the purest longings of what it is to be a human being. He was a creative powerhouse. To be able to pretend that he was my father and to wrestle with him in that way, in that kind of fierce way every night for however long we made that play, whew, you know, a privilege, like a big privilege of my life. Boy A, Jack Burridge.
I'm told you've been to prison a couple of times.
Yeah, but I mean...
Listen, I only bring it up to reassure you that your secret's safe, all right? I believe a man deserves a second chance. I also believe in his right to privacy. So, mum's the word.
God, it was such an interesting thing. So it was the second film I made, and I was so young and I was so inexperienced. And with John Crowley, who directed We Live in Time, we've been wanting to work together since. Felt again in the realm of a Ken Loach film. Felt like a humanist kind of film. And it's a question of whether we can change, whether we can reform. What's a proportionate response to things we do as children, even if they are as terrifying as murder? And I think for me, it was very clear what my intention was with the character was that he absolutely did deserve a second chance. And he was entirely reformed and was no longer a threat. He knows what damage he can cause. And he never, ever wants to risk causing damage to another person in any way again. His experience as a young person gives him more humanity, more access to his own humanity than other people that haven't brushed up against their own capacities in that way. You know, it's one of those moments where you kind of go, it feels like a dream. It genuinely feels like a dream. You have fantasies that you kind of like, as you're going to sleep, you kind of go, oh, if I ever win a BAFTA or an Oscar, or like, oh yeah, I would do this and I would say that. But that's all it is, it's a fantasy. There was no, I don't think there was ever a part of me that was like, this is gonna happen. You know, a lot of actors have that feeling of like, oh, I know where I'm heading. And I'm like, I have no idea where I'm heading. I don't even think I have anything to offer. In that moment, I was addled with insecurities and like doubt and like imposter syndrome. And I still am to a degree. I don't think that ever goes away. But that moment was quite spectacular. It felt like an embrace. We all long for that. We all want to belong. We all want to feel accepted. We all want to feel like we're adding something of value to people's lives or to the culture or to our community. And in that moment, it was total. It felt total. Angels in America, Prior Walter.
Louis, please wake up. Oh, God. I think something horrible is wrong with me. I can't breathe.
I'm calling the ambulance.
No, wait, I don't.
Wait, are you fucking crazy? Oh God, you're on fire. Your head is on fire.
I'm now far enough removed from it to be able to ask the same thing and kind of look back and go, I don't know how that, because I didn't miss a show and neither did Nathan Lane. It's more remarkable that Nathan didn't miss the show because he's slightly older and the stamina that required from him. There's some other energy that comes. And I remember there were nights and days on Angels where I would wake up and want to cry because I'm like, I don't know how. Like literally like I am on the verge of a physical nervous system failure breakdown. And there was one particular person, a mentor of mine, a teacher of mine that I would call and I would say, hey, I'm really worried about myself. I'm worried that I actually can't, that I'm gonna fall over on stage. And she would always say, lean back, give it to the spirits, give it to God, give it to your higher power, give it to the invisible forces that have put you in this position to serve. I survived and did it. And those were probably the better shows because I was out of the way. So I think there's some other energy that comes when you're in the right place in the right time and you're intentional and you want to actually, I don't know what it is, there's some other thing that brings you to the place and through difficulty in order to deliver the message. And I would pray every night, genuinely. I'd be on stage after my vocal physical warm up, just before people started to come in, and I would pray to the spirits of the people lost during that. I would say, come on in, come and get some healing. There's a bunch of people coming in to the theater that will be bringing you all in too, like family members, friends, lovers. And then you just kind of go, okay, let's see what happens tonight, because I don't know how to do it tonight. And I feel that way about Desmond Doss. I feel that way about Jonathan Larson. I feel that way about Father Rodriguez in Silence. Even, you know, my character in Under the Silver Lake, he was filled with some spirit calling him and pulling him into his life towards some mystery or some destiny. We Live in Time, Tobias Durand.
There is something that your daddy and I...
There's something that Mummy and me want to...
We want to talk to you about. It's a bit serious, though.
Yeah.
I play a character called Tobias Durand, and he is a draw between the lines guy at the beginning of the film. He's someone that does not want to rock the boat. He is someone that thinks, mistakenly, that if he behaves well, according to society's values, he will be rewarded, and it's not true. He finds himself deadened, numbed, without any vitality in his life at the beginning of this story, in a marriage that isn't working. And suddenly he's being given a second chance of being courageous and brave in his life. It becomes an adventure. I hadn't worked for a year, and because I was knackered after Angels in America and the spirit of Jonathan Larson kind of like pulling me around. And then We Live in Time came along, and I was like, oh, maybe this can just be a gentle, nice thing that I can go and do. And as soon as I was there, it was like, no, you're back. Like, it was suddenly like the spirits of that film started to just kind of like pull at me. And I was like, oh my God, this is for my dad. My dad has been through this exact fucking experience. I have friends who are going through similar experiences. I've been there. I'm like, oh, suddenly it's like, okay, great. The muses are back. It's never me. I'm just like, I will fucking try and put shape to the things that you're trying to put into the world. What a privilege. I've been used. I've been used by whatever those good muses are that want their voice in the world.
What's happened to my underwear?
Oh, I literally have no idea.
So sorry, but do we know each other?
Yeah, no.
Even the harder, more emotionally full, challenging, vulnerable scenes were very pleasurable with her. And she was surprised at that. She was like, that shouldn't have been fun. And I'm like, well, you are the kind of the brush and the color, but the person holding, or the force holding the brush is not you. You're just being moved. It's so beautiful when you get to do that, because it requires another actor to do that with you. And she's someone that is so talented that she trusts her own instrument. Letting go is the best. So when you can let go with your fellow scene partner, oh, it's heaven. But that requires a lot of trust and safety, and knowing that the other person is not judging you.